Get out of my kitchen if you won't work, lazy thing. The pot hit the counter so hard I flinched. Hot stew erupted from the rim, splattering across my chest. This is my father's house, not yours, I said. Not anymore, sweetheart. The way she said it made my blood run cold. Dad remarried within a year. I can't do this alone, he'd said, voice hollow as he stared at Mom's empty chair. I understood. Grief had carved us both out, left us desperate for anything that felt like solid ground. Ruth seemed like salvation at first. She brought casseroles to the funeral, squeezed my shoulder at the reception, called me daughter in front of the neighbors, her voice warm as honey. Then Dad's bedroom door closed one night, and the next morning she handed me a list. Just until you find your footing, she said softly, pressing the paper into my palm. 23 chores, timed to the minute. Consider it rent. Everyone contributes to a happy home. Sometimes 4 days a week. Pantry's locked now, she announced one morning, pocketing the key. Can't have you eating us out of house and home. She counted grains of rice, measured my portions like a warden. I scrubbed floors on my knees for hours while she sat drinking coffee, watching me with eyes that never blinked. When her church friends visited, I was banished to the back room. Once I tried to come out for water, and she blocked the hallway with her body. We're having adult conversation, she hissed. Learn your place. I tried to tell Dad. My hands shook as I dialed his hotel number. Ruth appeared in the doorway, how did she always know, and leaned against the frame, arms crossed, listening. Hey kid, everything okay? Dad's voice sounded so far away. I opened my mouth. Ruth shook her head slowly, finger pressed to her smiling lips. Yeah, I heard myself say, everything's fine. You sure you sound? Just tired, school stuff. The lie tasted like copper. The moment I hung up, Ruth's hand shot out. She plucked the phone from my grip with surgical precision. You'll get this back when you learn honesty, she whispered, dropping it into her apron pocket. Until then, you speak when you're spoken to, understand. Yes, Ma, I felt weakness in my body. The humiliation became routine, then it became creative. I cooked elaborate meals for her guests, roasted chicken, garlic potatoes, fresh bread. She served them while I ate standing in the kitchen, cold leftovers scraped from their plates. I washed her clothes by hand. She called me lazy as I hung them. The worst day came when I brought home my high school diploma, 4 years of honor roll, scholarship offers. Mom would have cried happy tears. Ruth picked it up, studied it with dead eyes, and then tore it cleanly down the middle. Education's wasted on someone who can't even follow simple instructions. She dropped the pieces into the trash. Take the bin out. I couldn't believe what just happened. Tears filled my eyes. I took the bin out as instructed. Something inside me tore too. Hatred grew like mold in a dark room, feeding on every insult, every degradation, and every silent scream I swallowed. Dad came home looking weak. Pneumonia, he said weakly. I just need rest. Someone needs to help him to the bathroom, she said sweetly. Lift him when he falls, clean up his accidents. Her smile never reached her eyes. If anything happens to him because you weren't there, that's on you. I slept on the hardwood floor outside his door. My back screamed. Dad would call out at 2 a.m., 4 a.m., and I'd stumble in, half dead with exhaustion, to help him to the toilet. Ruth slept soundly in the guest room, door locked. The voices woke me. At first I thought Dad was having a nightmare. Then I heard Ruth's voice, sharp enough to cut glass. You'll sign this tonight? Ruth, I can't even see. Sign it now. Papers rustled violently. It's for the family, remember, for our security. My father coughed, deep, rattling. Where's my daughter? Sleeping like you should be. Just sign here and here. I pressed my ear to the door, heart hammering against my ribs, pen scratching on paper, Dad's labored breathing, Ruth's satisfied hum. The doorknob turned without warning. I scrambled back. Ruth filled the doorway, documents clutched to her chest. Eavesdropping now? She slammed the door in my face so hard the frame shook. Get downstairs, kitchen needs cleaning. She made the announcement at breakfast like she was discussing the weather. Your father and I have made a decision. You're not needed in this household anymore. He's agreed it's time you find your own way. Dad, what? You heard me, start packing. You have until Friday. I ran to Dad's room, breath coming in gasps. He was sitting up in bed, looking small and confused. "Dad, what is she talking about?" He stared at me like I was a stranger in his home. "Ruth says it's for the best." "For the best, Dad, she's been—" Ruth appeared behind me like a ghost. "Go on," she said to me, eyes glittering. Tell him whatever story you've invented now." "She's lying." Ruth's voice cracked with manufactured anguish. Tears materialized instantly. She was good, I'd give her that. "She's been jealous since the day we married, bitter, unstable. Essie can't stand that you found happiness." She thrust the papers at Dad, hand shaking dramatically. "Essie's trying to manipulate you, but you signed these willingly. You told me you wanted to secure my future. This house is legally mine now." "Let me see those," Dad croaked. "My glasses, where are my glasses?" "You don't need it." "My glasses." Dad's voice had steel in it I hadn't heard in months. I found them on his nightstand. He held the documents inches from his face, squinting at the signature line. "This isn't my signature." Dad's voice was barely a whisper. "Of course it is. You signed it last night." "I was in the hospital last week." He looked up at Ruth, and I watched something die in his eyes. "I never signed this date." I was delirious with fever. I couldn't even hold a pen. His hand began to shake, not from illness this time, from rage. "Get out, Ruth." Ruth bolted for the door. Dad shouted after her, words I'd never heard him use. Mrs. Chen from next door called through the fence. "Everything all right?" "Call the police," Dad yelled back. "She forged my signature, attempted fraud." Ruth made it to her car, hands shaking so badly she dropped her keys twice. By the time she drove away, half the street had gathered. The truth spread like wildfire. Within hours, everyone knew. Dad revoked everything, reported the forgery. When the police came for statements, I showed them my torn diploma, my phone with its dead battery, the lock still on the pantry door. The house felt lighter when she was gone, bigger somehow. But I didn't. I felt hollow. Years of poison don't just evaporate because the source is removed. Dad cried for 3 days straight. On the 4th day, he hugged me. His tears soaked through my shirt, the same shirt Ruth had stained with stew all those months ago. "I should have seen it," he sobbed. "I should have listened. What kind of father I am." Part of me wanted to hate him, for being blind, for choosing her, for leaving me alone with a monster. But hatred is exhausting. It weighs you down, fills your chest until there's no room for air. Forgiveness came slowly, like sunrise after an endless night. Not because what happened was okay, not because the scars disappeared, but because carrying that weight was killing me too. I learned that silence feeds cruelty, that hatred poisons the person who holds it most, that speaking up even when your voice shakes is survival. I chose to forgive, not for him, for me.